Alright everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case. Over on Rumble, of course, we have to unpause and repause, just to make sure. I have to do that every single day. I am much more well slept today, I am glad to say, so I should be a little bit more high energy. Also, I took mushroom pills and stuff like that. Actually, I didn't take my multivitamin though. But I've got V8, so it doesn't really matter now, does it? We've got all sorts of crazy stuff to talk about today. And there's even the legacy media. This is from the USA Today, by the way. They are exceptionally Trump skeptic. The USA Today tends to lean fairly far to the left. We're paying too much in taxes. I want Trump to fix it. It's an opinion piece, admittedly, but it's still rather telling that they would even allow such an opinion piece on their particular paper. Whitmer had her moment the other day. She was at the White House and she was covering her face with a folder and stuff like that. And that was fairly funny. She's making jokes about it, but it's not really a joke when you think about it. We'll be analyzing that as well. With billions at risk, Harvard rejects Trump administration's request for policy changes. Yeah, they actually penned a letter with regards to this, and basically told Trump to fuck off. Well, I guess you don't need billions in taxpayer money now, do you? At the same time, though, I'm fundamentally a little bit supportive of them, because I do not believe that basic bitch anti-Semitism should be banned on campuses. The fact that a student group or some group may express views that are conceived of as anti-Semitic does not mean that they don't need federal money. I simply have a more prosaic suggestion. Don't give federal money to any school whatsoever. Randy Weingarten. Trump's decision to gut the education department is not only illegal, it is wrong. I happen to disagree with this. I think that it's a great idea, considering that the Department of Education has destroyed the educational system in the country. We'll get into that. Hands off our debt. Anti-DOGE protesters want your wallet, not freedom. Agreed. And then we have, this has been big in the news occasionally. Apparently, tick bites from multiple species at this point can cause a sensitivity to red meat. That is, that a person once bitten can't really enjoy a steak without, considerable complications. It's called the alpha-gal syndrome, rather. I have a feeling this is bioengineering. I think that probably most of you have concluded the same thing, because it makes no evolutionary sense whatsoever. It makes absolutely no sense that, that this particular syndrome would actually exist. I would think that if you're a parasite, you don't want the host to die. You want the host to survive, because then your offspring can also parasitize the host. This is incentivized within evolution. So what sense would it make to reduce the survivability of the host? All you're doing is draining off a couple drops of blood. You're not killing the host. I mean, Lyme disease is a thing. That's probably bioengineered too. I'm having a feeling that ticks are being used as a vector for biological warfare more than anything else. Sort of a Montauk situation or something like that. 4chan is kill, says J. Wolf. Is that indeed the case? We shall check. Yes, it does indeed appear that 4chan is kill. Yeah, I'm sure they'll bring it back online. It's probably Reddit trying to attack them or something. It'll probably be a huge counterattack as well. So yeah, we'll be talking about all of this and much more. We'll also have bans, of course. It wouldn't be a Styx Hexenhammer stream if there weren't those. Dressed like a pirate for a reason. I'll be in New Orleans, by the way, in another week. I have to stand trial. It's going to be a fun time, I'm sure. And I'll probably be on Bourbon Street I'm gonna go to various restaurants because the food in New Orleans is absolutely spectacular. Might go on the Natchez again. Not 100% sure. I've got to get everything arranged basically today, buy the ticket and so forth. And yeah. Tiger Wood. Lose the pirate getup. No, thank you. Oh, microphone. My apologies. Shit. I forgot that I had my phone charger actually plugged in there. So yeah, I'm using the wrong microphone. My apologies. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Make sure that the settings are proper. Yeah, my apologies for that. Okay, is it better now? It should be better now. Darth Cornpop. Ahoy, Captain Clanker, oh leather-clad pirate of wisdom. I am currently fighting a nasty upper respiratory bug. Any chance of a blessing or good vibes? Yes, what you do is you take ginger kombucha and you mix it with a bit of powdered sulfur, a powdered multivitamin, and some cultivated mind mushroom pills. Let's dump one of the capsules in there. You'll be feeling fine in a couple of hours. Yeah, I can absolutely never adjust the audio properly. Nobody is ever happy with it. Ah, I know the problem. That should be a little bit better. Volume low. Less tinny. Everything's fucked. Happens all the time. Let's talk about taxes, though, before we continue with audio testing and stuff like that. I find it very, very funny that the USA Today would have an opinion piece that's proclaiming that taxes are too high. I also find it odd timing when you think about it. Well, taxes were perfectly fine under Joe Biden. All of a sudden, now they're a problem. But Trump actually is tackling the issue. That's the whole point. That's the point of the article, actually. Taxes are way too high. Nobody should be paying above a 10% tax rate between state and federal. It should be completely disallowed. I don't care if a person makes a goddamn $1 billion in a year. If they're paying their fair share, that maximized fair share should be relatively low. And the reason for this is because then we can starve the bureaucracy. We can divert that money that we do get through taxation to things that are actually meaningful. The military, disaster relief, a handful of other causes. But most of these bureaus, we'll be talking about the Department of Education later, most of these bureaus don't do anything meaningful. The EPA is nothing more than a political attaché at this point. This was even complained about, by the way, by the legacy media during the Bush administration. Well, the EPA is nothing more than a mouthpiece for Bush. Yeah, that's the whole problem, so the agency should not exist at all. The FBI overlaps with a handful of other agencies and was never meant to be permanent in the first place. The CIA sells more cocaine than it confiscates. Well, I mean, it mainly sells, I guess, the confiscated cocaine anyway, so I suppose that pays for itself. A lot of these agencies don't really need to exist. Department of Education. What purpose does it serve? Bureaucracy. Paper shuffling. It's not actually improving children's minds. It's not increasing intellectual output or anything like that. It just exists to be basically nothing more than a Harvey. This is the case for most government bureaus. We need to have like a very streamlined version of the current government. You will always have a bureaucracy. It is unavoidable. But it does not need to involve hundreds and hundreds of agencies at the federal and state level. It's simply not necessary. And sometimes they overlap. Well, that's inefficient. Sometimes they contravene one another. Well, that's also inefficient. If we can solve this problem, which is what DOGE is about. We'll be talking about that as well. I mean, it seems like bureaucratic regulation is big in the news on this particular day. There's probably a reason for that. If we can solve these problems, everything will be fine. If we can't solve these problems, everything's going to go to shit. Because other countries with a more streamlined agency process will outstrip us. By the way, last beacon, again, I'm going to give you a warning here. Last beacon, he keeps shitting up chat. I refuse to ban him, however. I do not generally ban people. You have to go pretty far to get banned on any of my channels. You may have noticed that. I believe in unfettered free speech. Bristolian, just to inform you, Brits can't get Gab in the UK anymore, thanks to the Online Safety Act. Thanks, Conservative Party. Oh, wonderful. Also unsurprising considering who your Prime Minister is. BW, Sticks, isn't China dependent on our food? I had a leftoid tell me that doesn't matter because the food is grown on land China purchased. But even so, is there a way to seize that from a hostile country? I do not believe in land appropriation. I do believe in preventing people from foreign nations buying land, however, under normal conditions. If they have immigrated to the United States and established a business or whatever, I mean, if they become a resident, I don't care what they do. But I do not believe that foreign companies should be able to purchase vast swaths of land. Absolutely. Unfortunately, right now, we don't really have a law against it. Ego Mayhem. 4chan is mega dead. Janny's doxed private emails leaked. Gov and edu emails. Lol. Classic. Well, shit. No, I don't think that 4chan will be dead forever, though. BW. Also, is there a way for Trump to temporarily subsidize the economy so prices go down and the moo cow public doesn't vote Republicans out of the House in 26? I would never support such a move. Yeah, the UK is shutting King of Biltong is there. The UK is shutting goddamn everything down, basically. And apparently 4chan is fucked up at the moment. Which is sad. I like 4chan. I am Team 4chan. Certainly not Team Reddit. No, there's probably a reason for this. You got to drink your water before you drink your V8. Yeah, I'll check in on the 4chan situation separately. Let's talk about Whitmer, though. This was very, very funny the other day. Whitmer goes to the Oval Office. Now she's making fun of herself, trying to make light of the situation, because she didn't want to be photographed, actually, at the White House at all. So she was holding up like a blue folder in front of her face. I'll read a little bit of this verbatim, because it's pretty funny. Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Democrat from Michigan, said she regrets hiding her face during a meeting with President Donald Trump in the Oval Office last week. You probably should generally not do things that you're going to regret, by the way. Whitmer poked fun at the now viral moment by once again holding folders up in front of her face when asked about her trip to Washington, D.C. during an event at the Detroit Economic Club on Monday. I don't want my picture taken. That's all it was. I kind of wished I hadn't put my folder up in front of my face, but whatever. You know, I was there. I just wrote a book about learning to laugh at yourself. So I'm pretty good at it. We all have our moments, Whitmer said. Well, no. It had to do with political optics. And everyone knows it. Here's what Whitmer is doing. She's trying to deflect. And then nothing more. She needed to go to the White House, but she didn't want to be photographed with Trump because she intends to run for office. That's the long and short of it. It's quite obvious exactly why she reacted the way that she did. Whitmer was criticized for shielding her face as the photo became a meme on social media. Alex Meyer, Deputy Assistant to the President and White House Director of the Office of Intergovernmental Affairs, who is standing to Whitmer's left in the photo, joked that it's his new profile photo. I'm assuming that that's actually true, which is pretty funny. Yeah, it's obvious that she has presidential ambitions. Will she win? My guess is no. I do not believe that the country would be able to stomach someone like Gretchen Whitmer. I happen to agree with even some liberal commentators who have pointed out that the first lady president is very likely to be a Republican, for example. That's because people like Whitmer generally are insufferable. Liberal females are, to use the colloquial term, uppity. That is, they think that they're holier than thou. It's sort of like, ironically, like church marms or something like that. You know, the old ladies standing around in front of the church, highly religious, wringing their hands and looking at the kids and looking down their noses at them and stuff like that. It's almost the same thing. It's a little bit strange at times. I come from a time when liberals were listening to punk rock. Now I come from a time, currently, where liberals are still listening to the same punk rock, but it's from a bunch of sellout bands like Green Day. You know, just saying. The times, they are changing, but the change never actually comes. Yeah, I'm listening to this real cool punk band, man. Oh, what's the band's name? Green Day. Have you ever heard of them? Yeah, like 30 years ago. Yes, NoFX, Green Day, Rage Against the Machine. I hate where punk has gone, honestly. Cheap Sex, another good band. Well, I mean, again, they were good 20 years ago. There was a joke, this was years ago. It was, instead of Green Day, it was Bean Day, and it was about, like farts and stuff like that. It's pretty funny. Yes, King of Biltong. Rage for the Machine. Yeah, I'll stick with, if I had to give my trifecta, G.G. Allen, Marilyn Manson, and Ghost. Total non-sellouts. Holden Sneedmeyer. Must we play this game with China? How do people keep failing to recognize a neocon projects? Trade war is a Pyrrhic victory at best. Yeah, I mean, it's not good that we have to fight a tariff war, but it is necessary that we fight a tariff war. There are so many great bands out there. I mean, we've gone off the rails yet again. Public Image Limited, yes, absolutely. Johnny Rotten is one hell of a dude. Also Morrissey, of the Smiths, by the way. Morrissey's still got it. Spike. Remember the epic raid 4chan did on Tumblr years ago? That was great, I remember that, yeah. Though this caused Reddit to go full cock and take down the R. Donald. I discover you in this era. Yeah, I remember that, and also Project Chanology, against Scientology, of course. And also, there were a series of raids on ICQ chat by 4chan. Fielded mainly by myself, by the way. We destroyed the entire website. Yeah, it was pretty great. Yes, and then we had pools closed. I remember that fondly. Club Penguin. Trolling that. Oh my god. Although it was so G-rated that you could get banned for basically anything, so it was kind of hard to troll it. In the end, it died anyway. Holden Sneedmeyer. It's necessary? Okay, Bolton. No. I believe that it is necessary to balance trade with China. I have no problem with Chinese people or with China proper. I don't even care if they're communist. But if you're going to tariff our goods, why wouldn't we balance with our own tariffs? It makes absolutely no sense. That's not free trade. You're trying to free trade. but the other country is not trying to free trade. So in the end, you get stupid trade. Yeah, salty Reese's cup. I just don't care. Quite clearly, the singer from Ghost, I believe, is probably gay. But his personal life has nothing to do with the music. It's sort of like with Annie Lennox. Annie Lennox wears the AIDS blood shirt and talks about third wave feminism and talks about all of these other far left issues. She's quite clearly a far leftist. That doesn't mean she's not a talented artist. Same is true on the right, by the way. There are some people on the right that are highly moralistic, but they're exceptionally talented. Look at Ted Nugent, for example. Although I definitely agree with him on gun rights. That dude, I think he pretty much shoots everything that moves. Now people are just talking about music. We can have a music stream. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow. That'd be a fun idea. I gotta cook soup later. Let's get to our sponsors really quickly, though. And by the way, use code STICKS for these sales. First, we have cultivated-mind.com. Again, use code STICKS. You can get mushroom pills from them, and they come in various varieties. I think he told me earlier that he's thinking of releasing dog treats, actually, that are sort of spiked with the cordyceps and the shotgun stuff. So maybe your dog can be improved as well. That is extremely exciting because I don't think there's any other company that I've ever heard of offering such a product. So cultivated-mind.com. Get your mushroom pills now. I like the Brain 2, I think the best. The Radiant Energy, the Radiant is good. The Immune Renew is good. I mean, it's sort of like the Radiant Energy boosts your energy. It's sort of like, shooting down a couple cups of coffee. The Immune Renew is sort of a balance between the two. Brain 2, which is the one I like best, is mostly for mental focus. And they do work. I've been using them for an extended period of time. Secondly, we have BiltongUSA.com. Again, use code STICKS for 10% off site-wide. You can get Biltong. You can get Bovrite, which reminds me, I always have to eat a little bit when I mention Biltong and Anton's stuff. You can also get Sticks, X, and Hammer mugs, tumblers, and so forth. It's extremely salty. It's sort of like if you've ever had Vegemite. It's sort of like that, but it's beefy. You can use it as a base for broth and soup, actually. And then finally, jamandbean.com. That is jamandbean.com. I sniff it every day. Where you can get Clank Blend Coffee, the official coffee of the channel. They've also got various other coffees. They got the Panamanian blend, the Costa Rican blend, I think, and several others. Then they've got a whole shit ton of teas available as well, all of which are delicious, by the way. I think I've tried 5 or 6 of them already, and it's definitely worth doing that. It is a good idea. Why does Captain Clanker not use a spoon? Well, I mean, if it's just water, there's no reason to use a spoon. Let's see. BW, rant sticks. Don't worry, I always do. Holden Sneedmeyer, Putin relayed an offer to Witkoff. BRICS cooperation, which gives us minerals, diplomatic assistance with Iran, and compensation to companies who lost assets due to Biden's foreign policy idiocy. Oh, that sounds good. Broken Prophet, Vegemite sandwich. Oh, damn. I guess that's the next thing that I have to eat on a live stream. I said, "Do you speak my language?" She just smiled and gave me a Vegemite sandwich. Great song, by the way. I actually have that album. Wild Man. 4chan got hacked. Almost 300 million posts come from our greatest allies. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck is happening right now with 4chan. Vegemite with ketchup. Let me think about that for a moment. It's sort of like some people can play by ear, and so they can sort of hear the chords and stuff like that in their head. I cook by ear. I mean, not by ear, by taste, I suppose. Olfactory senses. Let's see, would ketchup and Vegemite... It might work, actually. Okay, I'll make a ketchup and Vegemite toast spread. BW, I meant you missed one of my rants. My apologies. Wait, are you talking about on YouTube or on Rumble? Because I'm not seeing anything else on YouTube. And the problem is with Rumble, it's fairly difficult. Oh, BW. If we could stop China from getting food exports, that might bring the tariff war to a faster end and give Trump a political benefit. We should do whatever we do to fix the country. Dems will. Yeah, the Democrats don't really want to fix the country, unfortunately. With billions at risk, Harvard rejects Trump administration's request for policy changes. Yes, indeed. They even penned an entire op-ed about this and posted it on their official site. Harvard has decided they're going to ignore Donald Trump because they get huge amounts of taxpayer money, which is being made requisite on clamping down on anti-Semitism in schools. My nuance here is I believe that students should be able to say whatever they want to say. If a student group wants to take a position on some political issue, I don't have a problem with it. I don't care if they are literally anti-Semitic. As long as they're not literally beating people up in the streets or doing something that is literally criminal, I do not give a shit. I don't care if they hate Jews. I don't care if they hate Palestinians. I don't care if they hate America. It means absolutely nothing to me. So here's my proposal. Shut off all federal funding for every college and university in the country, regardless of what they do. Let them fend for themselves. In a free market economy, fewer people will make the stupid decision of getting into tens of thousands of dollars of debt, and it'll be just fine. It will also drive down the cost of education. So just abandon the colleges. Now, some people, liberals, obviously the people that run these colleges, they'll say, well, that means you're anti-intellectual, you hate the learned. There was, what was the fucking name of that article? I think I'm covering it tomorrow. I don't think I doctored it, though. It was about knowledge workers. It's a whack-ass article, trust me. But trust me, I'll be covering that one in the morning tomorrow. Knowledge workers. Great slogan for propagandists, by the way. What's happened is that schools get so much money that they expend it on bullshit. So when you go to college, it's not, hey, you're learning math and you're learning preferably literacy, although my fellow anthropological students typically were not particularly skilled in English. I will tell you that. I'm like, oh, it was so fucking funny. We're doing peer editing, right? In one of my advanced courses. And the people that I'm editing are fundamentally illiterate. They don't know how to spell. They don't know what words to use. They know nothing about it. I get peer edited. Mine was perfect, I assure you. but I'm still getting edited anyway. And there's all sorts of like red lines around, and I'm like, dude, the edits that you're trying to make to my work make the work fundamentally fucking useless. I'm sitting there thinking these people are morons, basically. All right, you know about anthropology. That's great. Clearly, you didn't take many English courses. This was a big fucking problem. Got a B plus in the course, by the way. I mean, so it worked out in the end. But I'm like, you're trying to edit things that should not be edited because they are quite clearly fundamentally correct. Again, it happens all the time. We have a problem within our educational system. We'll be talking about the Department of Education, by the way, in a moment. The Department of Education has ruined the lower educational system, so up through grade 12. The rest of the educational system has been fundamentally ruined by a bunch of filler courses and shit like that. You go to college, you're required to have a certain number of courses within the semester. When I went to UVM, I said, I think that I want to brush up on my French and improve upon it, because I took 2 years of French in high school. Je parle français, mais juste un peu. And so I figured, well, it makes sense for that to be something that I take. Sorry, you're not even allowed to sign up for the course. But you can sign up for Holocaust studies. You can sign up for gender studies. Those are perfectly fine. Or you can just go to the gym all day and eat ice cream and shit like that. It was messed up. It made absolutely no sense. You're paying a considerable amount of money. And this is for someone who comes from a poor family, which I did. I was very poor at the time. And so you're running yourself into debt, and you're being forced to take all these fucking filler courses because you have to work out your goddamn schedule. It made absolutely no sense. I'm trying to study plant biology. That was my first major. Most of it was chemistry. It's like I can understand why you would want me to take organic chemistry. That sort of makes sense. Why do I have to take physics? What the hell does that have to do with plants? Or the pharmacology or something like that? I don't know. Anyways, yeah. There's my rant of the day. So Harvard has lashed out at Donald Trump. Now, again, I criticize him on the basis upon which he's basing the actual money. I don't give a fuck if a university clamps down on anti-Semitism or whatever, or supports Israel or Netanyahu or Palestine. These don't mean anything to me. I just don't want my tax money going to any of these goddamn schools, because they're all worthless apparently. Ugly Doll, remember when Styx said no ads and now he's a salesman like the rest? He's cooked and soon all he will have is a knee to kneel on for cash. Haha. A salesman. Yeah, I've sold 500,000 copies of my books. Yeah, absolutely. It's a real great time. I do not take ads on YouTube. I promised people that I wouldn't. Have I not held to that promise? So, fuck yourself. Ben Big Balls Franken. O9A is back in the news. Yeah, we talked about that the other day. I had one of their books, actually, literally. Big Trev, hey Styx, what's your thoughts behind 4chan going down? It seems there was some sort of a hack, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to need to get the backstory from people that are more in the know, I suppose. I use 4chan fairly regularly, and I'm sad that it's down, but I'm not exactly sure what the hell is going on. Randy Weingarten, Trump's decision to gut the education department is not only illegal, it's wrong. Well, the first part is like your opinion, man. And the second part is completely false. Gutting the education department. The only problem with gutting the education department is you're not outright abolishing them, basically. Because the Department of Education coincides on its inception with the falling of the United States from being ranked very, very highly in education to being, yeah, well, we're kind of making it, basically, mode. We're like ranked, what, 25th or something in the world. We've fallen behind too many other countries. Now, we have a substantial population. There will always be high functioning individuals. So it's not like we won't be able to staff the nuclear reactor or anything like that. It's just we're not turning out the best and brightest at the same rate we were before. That's because at the dawn of the atomic era, number one, it was cool to get into things like science and math. Number two, it was lucrative. Number three, you could literally pay your tuition with a part-time summer job. And number four, people were incentivized, actively encouraged by government to be intelligent. They literally put out circulars to try to get people to be more survivable because they were afraid of an atomic war. And so our educational attainment was stratospheric. Now people have grown decadent, lazy, and retarded, honestly. And so there's no longer the same incentive, there's no longer the same focus, and it's much more expensive to get that actual education. And so this is the problem. The Department of Education has overseen the massive disbursement of money to colleges that predominantly just do filler courses, basically. I took 2 semesters of math. Great for you. You know, that puts you in the top 10%, basically. STEM is generally not promoted actively, which is regrettable. Instead, most people, they're simply encouraged to go to college, and then they get a women's studies degree, or they get like a gay studies degree or something like that. Well, I mean, it's okay. I mean, you took some math and English and stuff like that, great. But now you're deeply in debt and your degree is absolutely meaningless. There have been videos of people posted online. Some of them have gone viral over time, by the way. Ironically, on 4chan mainly, of people complaining because they got a worthless degree. And they're like, I'm $50,000 in debt and I am flipping burgers. Yeah, because you got the wrong fucking degree. And you probably weren't even getting great grades in that, unless you were sucking the teacher's cock or something like that, or their pussy. Big problem now, isn't it? And that's what our culture has degraded into. Instead of being a culture where you have a meritocracy, we have an idiocracy. Hate to tell you, but idiocracy is mighty fucking prescient at times. Castile, how's the amnesia? Have you tried lifting? Maybe by increasing your baseline metabolic rate through training will force your body to get better sleep. It's not amnesia, I think you mean insomnia. Lucian Hex, shout out to Abby from Taking Back Texas. I don't know what that is. Is that a porno movie or something? Shout out to Styx for being awesome. Thank you. I do appreciate that. But yeah, my answer is quite simple. Simply don't fund any of the universities and colleges. The cost will fall, the filler courses will disappear, and then you don't have to worry about the socio-political ramifications. Doesn't matter what the kids on campus are saying. I don't care if they form a jihad movement or something like that, as long as they're not physically acting out and killing people or something like that. I don't care what their views are. I don't care if they're pro-Hamas. I don't care if they're pro-IDF. Doesn't mean anything. Lord of the Ree, Sticks, you mean my degree in West African paraplegic underwater basket weaving is useless? Ree. No, that actually would be pretty cool. Stephen Franco. 31, average looking, good job, feeling depressed. Any suggestions? Well, if you've got a good job, that's obviously an advantage. And you're not old, so that's an advantage. Feeling depressed, that can be solved by many ways. I would suggest drinking a bunch of chamomile tea at night. That seems to help with the depression. There was one article, and I wish that I could find it. It was years and years ago, and it was about the Peruvians, actually. And apparently, there's some sort of wind that comes off of the mountains, and it's like a real dry breeze, and it literally causes suicides. somehow. I'm not sure by what method this happens. But the mountain wind is literally sickening. And they drink chamomile in order to prevent the depressive effects, actually, of that wind. I wish I could find that article. It was actually a scientific study. Fascinating. I just wish that I had saved it. Copium poppies. I took a women's studies class in college right before woke started escaping in the mainstream. Heard all the woke buzzwords there. Almost everyone in the class hated me, but was an easy A. Yeah, I know. Oh, King of Biltong. No, I haven't tried the chamomile yet. I'm going to be brewing some up tonight, though. There is a bad respiratory cold going around, and I would like to avoid it, so I'll be pounding myself with the chamomile. Ugly doll. Actually, no, you didn't. You forced an ad just a couple minutes ago about some stupid crap, and sure, you sell pseudoscience books. Wow, no one cares. I don't serve ads. If YouTube has put an ad on my stream or something like that, it is not voluntary, just to be clear. I have taken not 1 cent in ad revenue on YouTube. I promised never to do so. Even though I apparently could have made $1 million or some shit like that. Probably not, though, because YouTube doesn't really serve ads on anyone's videos anymore anyway. Stephen Franco, I will find the tea. Thank you. Yeah, just any standard chamomile. Like, for instance, Anton can hook you up. Anton's got, well, this says rooibos, but I think it has a picture of chamomile on it. Wait, just a second. Oh, it's rooibos and chamomile. Okay. I confused myself for a moment. Sigil, if you're feeling depressed, you can feel better by remembering you're white. If you're not, then I don't know. KYS, I guess. I do not happen to agree with this particular message, by the way. I don't care what fucking color you are. If you're a good person, you're a good person. If you're a bad person, you're a bad person. The only person that I saw acting out on, at least on the men's side, I was in the New Orleans jail, was the skinhead. All the black people, they thought I was great, actually. They thought I was funny. And they called me Jesus. And then the other time, when I was there in the lockup, when I'm dressed as a pirate, when I'm leaving, they were laughing their asses off. Thought it was great. Thought it was hilarious. Yeah, I don't really understand overt racism. I understand that there are correlations and statistics and things like that. But that being said, just randomly disliking somebody because of the color of their skin, yeah, I just don't understand it. I just can't. Stephen Franco, I'm mixed. Yeah, exactly. You know, some of the people that watch my channel, I had one dude, he was a former football star, black dude, who apparently watches my content. And it's like, I'm not going to dislike somebody just because of the color of their skin or anything like that. The only people who do that regularly are politicians, actually. Hands off our debt? Anti-DOGE protesters want your wallet, not freedom. Fully agreed, by the way. When people are protesting against DOGE, they're effectively protesting against the concept of government accountability. And it's really funny. But the thing is, if Biden had incepted such a thing, so a semi-private group that has some degree of classified clearance and is capable of going through the records, so to speak, if he had incepted such a group to try to investigate waste and fraud and things like that, none of these liberal legacy media commentators would have said anything. And none of these people would be protesting. Nobody would be protesting. It would be cut and dry. Everyone would support it. But because Orange Man bad, and because Orange Man friends with Elon, it's basically point and grunt logic when you think about it. Ook, ook, big man me bad. He friend of big man who bad. You, everything he do is bad. That's basically the fucking logic that we're working with. It's basically caveman logic. The fact that Donald Trump happens to be president, therefore, is providing an example of stupidity within humans on a magnificent level. Because people who have absolutely no goddamn reason not to want to reduce the bureaucracy, because it's in their self-interest on every fundamental level to do so, will refuse stubbornly to support the effort simply because Donald Trump is involved. And of course, his friend, Elon. Donald Trump bad. You know, I love immigrants, especially African immigrants, but not that Elon dude because he's the wrong color. That's I'm sorry, I can't help but laugh when I think about that because there are actually people who fundamentally believe that. The fact is that DOGE is at least attempting to create more efficiency and accountability. Is it going to be universally successful? Of course not. No effort ever is. It's sort of like with SpaceX. Once in a while, one of their rockets just blows up on the landing pad. And Elon's like, whoops, lol, and then he trolls about it, usually on Twitter, and finds it funny more than anything else. But it happens sometimes. But most of the time, it is successful. This is the way DOGE is going to operate. They are not going to be able to reduce all government spending. They're not going to be able to reduce the entire bureaucracy to rubble, which would be great, but they're simply not going to be capable of doing it. But if you can eliminate, I don't know, several $100 billion in waste and fraud, which it appears is already the case, that's pretty successful. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money that taxpayers don't have to spend. Isn't that great? I mean, again, it's point and grunt politics, basically, with some of these people. They're literally arguing against government efficiency. I can't understand it. I can't wrap my mind around it. No, I don't want the government to be more efficient. I want my taxes to rise and for the bureaucracy to fuck me in the ass more. That makes a lot of sense. And that's literally what they're arguing for. King of Biltong. Try Carmine's range of functional red teas infused with functional ingredients to help you through your day. Available on BiltongUSA.com. 10% off for Sticks listeners only. Use code STICKS. Yes, indeed, with my sponsors, you can use code STICKS, and you can get 10% off, generally. Oh, I never drank my V8, by the way. Damn, I almost forgot about the fucking V8. So there are actually people out there so deranged that they're arguing against more government efficiency. Yeah. These people can vote, by the way. The swamp cleaner. If it's all white, it's all right. Chris Rock. That's the best stand-up he did. Stephen Franco, there are superior cultures, not races. Yes, I'm more of a civnap. I agree. Green Text Pro. Next news story. Clankers.net is the unofficial fan forum of Styx Hexenhammer. Our boards, Clank, News, Plant, X, Lit, Psy, MP3, Kino, Cook, ADV, Dream, Mind, and Bant, open for pre-launch. Interesting. Nick C. I have watched every episode since Tarl started. He has never had YouTube ads. Company sponsorships and shoutouts are different. Non sequitur time. How about the left now being against arson now? Yeah, I guess, I guess they'll have to be anti-arson after what happened with Shapiro there. Yeah, Josh Shapiro, the governor, his house, his mansion, got firebombed by a person who was clearly loopy in the head. So yeah, now they have to be against arson. So we'll have less left-wingers throwing firebombs at police stations, maybe. Spike. After watching Lord of the Rings again, now I understand why the left considers it right-wing. Social Security and Medicare is the ring. If we destroyed those, we could free the country. I see it more... never mind. I'm not even going to get into that because I'll end up ranting for like 20 minutes. I do love Lord of the Rings. In fact, I'm into it enough that I like the Bakshi version of Lord of the Rings. By the way, if you want to see one of the greatest satires of all time, get the completely screwed up dub of Bakshi's Lord of the Rings. It's available on archive.org, by the way. You can download it. They took the original Bakshi. He was obsessed with rotoscoping. He always has been. He rotoscoped most of the movie, although a little bit of it is live action and a little bit of it is just cartoon, and it kind of made no sense. But the dub is absolutely fucking hilarious. It doesn't make any sense, but the original movie didn't make any sense. Like, towards the end of the movie, the animation, they're like melting, basically. Gollum's all screwed up, and Frodo, like, starts looking totally different, and I don't exactly know what was going on in the animation room, but yeah, it was a little bit fucked. And the problem is that they never let him do part 2. It was originally going to be a 2-parter, so the first part encompasses, like, what would be the first Lord of the Rings movie through the siege, and what? Just a second. That was just the wind sucking the door shut. But yeah, where was I? Yeah, they went up through the siege and the Rohirrim charge and stuff like that, basically, with Bakshi's movie. But they never actually gave him the ability to make the second part. So it's sort of lost in time. Yeah, my apologies, everyone. That was the wind. If I didn't have my fucking window open, it would be a little bit more easy. Unfortunately, the window is open. Oh, now we have to talk about something else. We're going to talk about bioengineering. We're not allowed to talk about certain viruses and bacteria and so forth on a YouTube live stream. But we are allowed to talk about tick-related viruses and things like that. Certain ticks, if they bite you, and they manage to infect you, can cause a syndrome called alpha-gal. And it means that you're no longer able really to eat red meat. So you're no longer allowed to have a nice juicy steak, basically, or a pile of bacon. How convenient. It's almost like ticks are being used as a vessel or something like that. Because Lyme disease appeared a little bit mysteriously around a laboratory back in the day. It was considered strange, and of course anyone that questioned the official story, which is, well, just sort of randomly jumped into existence. Anyone who questioned the official storyline was called a conspiracy theorist. Here's what I claim. I believe that the meat allergy that's caused by ticks is bioengineered. I believe that strongly. I believe that it was deliberately inserted into the tick population in order to dissuade the public from eating meat. I believe that there is a group of effectively eugenicists that are trying to do so. And by the way, I would point out that vegetarianism was an element of eugenics, actually. It was strong within the eugenic movement. It was also strong within the latter-day occult movement, although that's pretty much died out at this point, thankfully. And while I prefer many vegetarian foods myself, once in a while I want to have bacon. Once in a while I want to have a BLT. I want to have a good steak. You know, I can make a great veggie soup, but sometimes you need to make some goddamn stew or something like that. The fact that ticks all of a sudden, over the course of only a few decades, have spawned several disease vectors that are directly linked to sociopolitics is, in my opinion, very much telling. I'm just saying. King of Biltong, looking for some healthy, high-protein snacks? Add some biltong to your diet. Almost 50% protein and packed with B12, creatine, iron, zinc, and much more. Go to www.biltongusa.com. Code STICKS for 10% off. Strongly recommended. Fuck the eugenicists and vegetarians. Eat biltong. Yeah, I mean, once in a while it's okay to have vegetarian food. In fact, that's most of my diet, actually. I like green vegetables. I was that weird kid that liked asparagus and Brussels sprouts and shit. And I love berries. I'm hoping that we have a flush of berries this year because I'm going to eat like 20,000 gallons of them. We've got a shit ton of raspberries out back, and I built paths in between them so that I can access them all. Oh, that's going to be fucking great. And they've got really great soil stratum and everything else. But yeah, I mean, meat is great. Biltong's good. You know, sometimes you want a nice medium rare steak. Eat your heart out, razor fist, by the way. And, you know, sometimes you need some bacon. Last beacon, especially since it was a blue-on-blue operation. I'm talking about what happened with Shapiro. Yeah, I know. It was, that's a wacky situation. Yeah, just to be clear, I am not a vegetarian. Some people have erroneously claimed that, actually. They've claimed that I'm a vegetarian because sometimes I cook vegetarian foods. I'm like, not every meal needs meat. I mean, it needs biltong on the side, but not everything that you cook has to have a shit ton of meat in it. Sometimes it's okay to have garden veggie. And I made an exquisite garden veggie soup, by the way, only a couple of days ago. I told people my secret. When the onions are being sauteed, you add tarragon. You don't need much garlic, though. I only use like 1 clove, basically. And then when you create the broth, you keep it light at first. It's going to be fairly low salt. That's because you want to herby it up and salt it to taste. You're also going to add half a can of V8. Roughly. I mean, depending on the amount of servings that you're making. You will add tomatoes to it, of course. But you're going to need to make it more tomatoey. Sigil! You catch the tick-borne diseases suddenly popping up, but for some reason don't see the de-extinction of goddamn superwolves or saber-toothed tigers as being the same kind of Malthusian weapon. Dude. No, because they're not going to survive in the modern climate for the most part. Dire wolves are going to be no different from regular wolves, for the most part. We'll interbreed with them anyway. Saber-toothed tigers are never going to be allowed to be released into the wild. If they were, it'd be in like fucking Siberia, I suppose. And so forth, so I'm not worried about any of these things. Yes, birds and chickens and so forth, they eat ticks, yes. I've been bitten by ticks, I think on 3 different occasions, and a couple other times I had them on me. I have noticed because back when I was a kid, I had never even seen a tick. and all of a sudden they seem to be far more common, and they seem to be spawning diseases that are very, very, let's say, how do we put this? Rather convenient for the elite, now aren't they? I have a feeling that this came from a laboratory. Like, I didn't see a tick for the first, God, almost 20 years of my life. All of a sudden, I start seeing them everywhere, and all of a sudden, they're spreading all of these crazy diseases. Where did that come from? Why would evolution, by the way, decide to grant a tick the ability to reduce the survivalship of its host? It does not make evolutionary sense, and that's how we know that it was engineered. It does not make sense that a tick would attempt to destroy the person that it is biting. It would make sense for it to try to preserve it, because the only thing the tick wants to do is drink some blood and give birth to babies. That's evolution. That's what evolution would incline it to. Since that's clearly not the case, while you can have pathogens and so forth, it doesn't make sense that they would suddenly emerge around the same time and have such crippling impacts. Well, you can't eat meat anymore and you're all crippled up and now you're reliant on pharmaceuticals. It doesn't take a goddamn genius to understand what's going on here. Copium poppies! Science should focus on making genetically engineered designer pets. Mini orcas that live in home aquariums for the win. You seem obsessed with mini orcas. No, Zeta Reticulus. What you need to do is grab it by the head and pull it out with tweezers. That is not a good idea. If you try to burn it, it can vomit, and that can potentially spread pathogens. Yeah, ticks are pretty pernicious. I have a feeling that they've been genetically engineered at a laboratory. It seems a little bit coincidental that these particular diseases all of a sudden arise in the same population of insects, which breed readily, they easily go unnoticed and so forth, and they simply serve, similar purpose. If you want a population to be effectively crippled and therefore reliant and have to rely upon pills, and you want that population, there's something wrong with the mouse there. If you want the population to be reliant and you want to force them into veganism, essentially, well, I think that you're accomplishing your goal. Copium poppies, would it not be badass to have fucking killer whales in your living room that eat goldfish? That would be pretty cool, yeah. Scott Bullion, do you think we will ever see the Epstein list? No, absolutely not. No chance in hell. Jim Graves, been a fan for years. What's your thought on the Jays ending Michael Jackson? He was the last saint. Yeah, Michael Jackson pissed off the wrong people. I believe he was assassinated, indeed. He had some certain song lyrics that might have pissed off some movie executives. Didn't help that he bought half of Sony. Mr. Buster Pants, Plum Island disease products, creepy place. Yeah, there are some locations in the world where disease seems to tend to proliferate, and I have noticed this. There's probably a reason for that. That's why I use all sorts of crazy shit. Mushroom pills and supplements, vitamins, and things like that. There's a reason why I own several gas masks and a bunch of IOSAP. Some of these people appear to be insane. The funny part is, when you notice that the people that at the top are kind of crazy, really crazy, you are labeled crazy. So it's not them. No, it's not the people that are trying to kill a million other people or something like that, or create some sort of bioweapon. They're not insane. They're the sane ones. You're the one that's nuts. It's a little bit like what happened in East Germany, actually. They would do the same exact thing. Last weekend, whoops, it froze. Is the video working? Or is this, did the video freeze? I'll only be on for a couple more minutes. My niece is coming over later. So I'm going to be doing some archery and stuff. Oh, it's on? Okay. Yeah, I've got to go out and do some archery, which I'm absolutely terrible at, but it's expected of me. And, ooh, I can probably gather fiddleheads, actually. I think it's probably just late enough in the season for fiddleheads. That would be delicious. Oh, you take fiddleheads and you fry them off in a bunch of butter. And you can season them however you want. Usually just a pinch of salt. Oh, it's delicious. It's sort of like, how would I describe the flavor? Because most people have never had them. I don't know exactly how to describe the flavor. Huh. Yeah, it's like nothing else that I've ever had, actually. But it's delicious. Just trust me. Rich Fernandau. Sticks, what's your favorite brand of ketchup? Any brand. It does not matter. I just love ketchup. I don't really care what brand it is. The only one I really don't like is Hunt's. And it's funny, because back in the day, Hunt's was my favorite brand. But they changed the formulation somehow. And now it's like, it's still ketchup, so it's still usable. But it's not nearly as good as it used to be. And I don't understand why. Whatever they did to their formulation, it was a mistake. So anyway, I'm going to go off line now. I'm going to go off, man. I'm going to go offline. And I need to do my news docketing and then other things. That's about all. Peace out.